Hey friends, and that one person who always dislikes the video. I'm Kate. Welcome back to a Came From a Vlog, and today we're going to be making some ramen. One of my goals for 2021 was to get better at making ramen. The only ramen I've ever made is the instant kind in the pack, microwave, powder. You know, I don't know the sound effects. The sound effects don't matter. Moving on. I've never made actual legit-ish ramen. So that's one of my goals, and today I'm gonna show you how my first go went. So the first thing I had to do was find a recipe that I thought I could perhaps pull off. And I checked out a video from Delish from June. I absolutely love her videos. If you haven't checked her out, you totally should, because that girl keeps it down to earth and real. And also, hello, incredible use of every single ingredient and zero waste. I'm always mind blown at how creative she is with her recipes. But her recipe for ramen looked a little intense and a little intimidating. It's a 2-day process with a lot of different steps, but I thought, hey, we're gonna do it. Let's do it right. You know what I'm saying? To make this recipe, we had to get a couple unusual ingredients that I have never worked with. So this was a lot of a learning process, It was a learning process. But I got to buy and try a lot of new ingredients that I have never worked with or even heard of before. So that was part of the fun of discovering and learning in this recipe. As always, links to all the recipes and anything that I use will be in the description box below. Without further ado, let's get started on my ramen adventure. Right, start with the chicken broth. 8 cups of this. I've got my nice box of authentic ingredients here. So we bring our chicken broth to just a bare simmer, and then I'm adding 16 dried shiitakes. They look like this. Let me show you the package. Looks like this. Shiitakes. After we remove the bare simmering chicken stock and let it cool for 2 minutes, we add in the mushrooms and the kombu, which is kelp. Let me show you that. Right here. This is just making a really good and flavorful broth. I haven't made this ever before. I don't even know what this stuff is, so I'm really excited to see how this turns out. Essentially what we're doing here is making a recipe with multiple different components, but this first component that we're making is the chicken dashi, which is just a really flavorful stock for the base of our ramen. I'm doing this at night because the recipe says that it can sit in the fridge for up to a week, so that is handy. It's because this part can be made ahead of time. It is just at the point of almost simmering. So as soon as I see the first couple bubbles, I'm gonna take it off the heat, let it cool for 2 minutes before I steep the mushrooms and the kombu, the kelp, for 5 minutes, and then move on to the next step. Sorry for my super messy stove, but I was making miso soup earlier, and I had a little miso spill that I haven't cleaned up yet. And I'm actually, you know, I said I'm sorry, but I'm not that sorry about it. It happens. The next thing I can do in advance is make the garlic layu, which is like a chili oil. So I'm gonna put a half cup of canola oil in here, 8 cloves of garlic sliced, and then I cook those for like 15 minutes, making sure I don't fry them too much. And then I add in some chili and sesame seeds, and that can store up in the fridge for over a week. So that's something I can do tonight as well. Let's do that. Now I have my sliced garlic in here at the lowest heat possible, and we're gonna do about 15 minutes of this. It's pretty much a garlic confit, which I've never made before, but I have seen people make it. We don't want it to get all brown. We just want it to slowly heat up. And after about those 15 minutes, we add in a tablespoon of chili and 2 teaspoons of sesame seed, and this garlic oil will be ready. At this point, I have had my stock, my dashi, sitting for just long enough. So we're gonna strain it into a container and then reserve all these chunks. I believe that we use it later on in the recipe, so I'm gonna keep those. So while I'm straining that out, I also put a pot with my pork belly with the skin on inside. I have water to cover it. We're gonna blanch it, just let it get up to a boil, and then I think that's pretty much it. I don't think you leave it in there very long. It's just to get some of those impurities out, so it's nice and ready to go into the next step. Wow, this is very involved, but it already smells and looks so good. And I tasted this dashi and it is amazing. I'm not sure if this container is big enough. I guess we'll find out. Oh no! Oh no. Ah! I spilled some. The next part is the tare. So we're going to put this is like a marinade for the pork. We're gonna put soy sauce, mirin, some sake, water, sugar, brown sugar, garlic, green onions, and then the pork belly when it's done blanching, all in this pot, and let it cook for like an hour and a half. Okay, I added a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar to this, and now I'm gonna add, I believe, 3 teaspoons of brown sugar. Already getting hot really fast while I'm trying to prep everything. I really need to work on my mise en place this year. I'm just gonna go at it here. Now I have a 2-inch piece of ginger, fresh ginger, which I peeled and sliced. That goes in. And then I'm going to slice 3 garlic cloves and throw those in as well. It smells so fresh and amazing. Now I'm gonna check on my pork. It looks like all those yucky impurities are getting to the top. They should be opaque on all sides. That's what my girl June on Delish says. And that looks pretty much perfect. So now these pieces will be added into my tare and cooked for about an hour and a half until they're really nice and tender. Here's what it looks like right now. I wish that there was smell-o-vision because this smells so good. Our garlic has been in here for about 15 minutes. It looks perfect. It didn't get brown or anything. It's thickened up really nicely, and I tried a little taste of the oil and it is so flavorful, so I can only imagine how it's gonna taste after sitting for a while. We're gonna add a tablespoon of chili. I bought this chili from the market, but you can use red pepper flakes as well. So I'm gonna add a tablespoon of this in, let it sit for 2 minutes, and then put in 2 teaspoons of sesame seed, and that's ready to sit in the fridge till we're ready to have the ramen. Homemade garlic chili oil. Divine, look at that. Oh, yes. All right, let's let this sit for a bit. I'll get those sesame seeds out. The sesame is in. I'm gonna give it a little stir and then put it in a container in the fridge. This next step I'm very curious about. We're going to be making nitamago. Let's see what it's called. Nitamago, marinated eggs. I'm gonna bring the saucepan up to a high heat rolling boil, and then I'm going to prick the bottoms of these eggs with a pin. Then lower them into the pot with a slotted spoon and reduce the heat and let them simmer for just 6 minutes and drain them. Then they're gonna go in ice bath and rest before going into our tare, our marinade, and let them sit overnight with some kombu on top to hold them down. All right, let's do it. All right, it is day 2 of ramen. We're gonna have the actual ramen and see how it turned out. I'm gonna cook these noodles, maybe 2 or 3 bunches. They're in like little nests. until they're al dente. Then I'm gonna warm my dashi. Let's take a look. Has to be stirred up because there's like cloudiness on the bottom. That's normal. Here's our garlic chili oil. I sliced up the shiitakes. Those will also warm up with the dashi. This is our pork belly. I'm not sure if I have to warm this up or if it's supposed to just warm in the broth, but I do have to thinly slice it. Oh, it smells so good. And then these are our marinated eggs. Let's see how these look. I put this layer of kelp on top to hold them down into the marinade. There they are. They're all dyed from this amazing tare. And I believe we used some of the tare in the ramen itself. So let's do it. Let's make the noodles, heat the dashi, and get it going. Well, all of my pots are in the wash, so I'm just gonna use my Dutch oven to reheat the dashi. And I think we're supposed to keep it pretty low. We don't wanna like overheat it or get it really boiling. I hope this is the right amount of noodles. I have never made this before. A lot of this is just experimenting, so hopefully it turns out great. I think I'm gonna take this moment to slice up my pork belly really thin. My noodles are just al dente. I'm gonna drain them right now. Noodles, pork belly, garlic chili oil, green onion, marinated eggs, tare. Oh, that made a lot. Mushrooms. I'm still waiting for my dashi to come up to a simmer. Doesn't that look so good? Once the dashi is simmering for a minute, I can take it off the heat. Let's cut these open and see how they look. Oh my goodness, look at that. Let's make some room. There's our dashi. We're gonna put the noodles in. Some noodles into the broth. Oh my goodness, that looks so good. And then a couple tablespoons of this. This is supposed to be done to taste. Oh, it's so hot. Green onion. And finally, this extremely spicy garlic chili oil. I don't know how much to put, but it's so flavorful. Let's start with that and see how that goes. Gosh, you guys, it looks gorgeous. I think these are not quite ramen noodles, but
blow on it. They look like ramen noodles.
Ooh, it's spicy. It's good. Let's try the egg. The egg is amazing. The egg is like a 10 out of 10. Must absolutely have to make again. Ah, ramen. So, final thoughts on how it came out. It was very good. It was super authentic. It had a very like rich and fishy flavor, almost like over reduced, maybe a little bit too salty. The pork wasn't my favorite. However, I learned so much from this process. 2 days later, I made my own version a very untrained, unskilled, and unknowledgeable version of ramen, and I thought it turned out really well. It was more chickeny and a little bit less fishy. This is a good start to experimenting with ramen and learning more. Things that I did love from this recipe, I loved the garlic chili oil. So good. Extremely spicy, but really flavorful. Not the kind of spice that just burns out your taste buds and you can't taste anything, but a flavorful kind of spicy that you can add a tiny bit to everything and it just enhances the flavor. And also the tare, the sauce for like marinating and putting in the ramen, I could put that sauce in anything. And I had some left over and I ended up using that a couple days later to marinate some just chicken in, and then I grilled the chicken and it tasted so good. So I'm going to be having that sauce in my fridge on rotation because it's so useful for all kinds of things. Overall, I'm really happy and glad that I did it. It was really fun. I think it turned out beautiful and it was a really good, authentic experience. I totally learned a lot, which is a huge benefit for me because even though I love cooking and trying new recipes, it's not often that I find a recipe that has totally brand new ingredients that I've never even touched or smelled or handled before. So that was exciting. So that's it from me for this video. Let me know if there's any new recipes that you want me to give a try. Maybe you have a favorite ramen recipe that you can share below. I am willing to try anything once, within reason. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Haha, it's me, the troll, who always dislikes one of your videos.
Okay. Thanks. Talk about ramen today. Just important topics. You know how YouTubers have like special intros where they say like the same thing every time?
What's diggity happening?
They don't say what's diggity happening. How do you come up with that? Do they know before they start or do they just like come into it? You just discover your tagline.
You mess around one video and then that's it forever.
So you're saying yes, say hey diggity dog?
Hey diggity dogs and diggity cats.
Ooh, I need a cool tagline.
I'm Kate. You're watching It Came From a Vlog.
Oh, and then fart.
No, not a real one.
Oh, just a mouth fart. And then it goes doo 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 doo. Ring lights are so intense.
Toot toot tooty toot.